Your AI strategy and automation roadmap does not need to be complicated. This is my quick 90-second AI strategy breakdown for anyone to use of any business size to see where the biggest bottlenecks are and where you can immediately get value from your AI and automation. As with everything on the channel, this is purely looking at the business side of AI and automation and how you guys can get a full return on investment from the money you're spending on AI and automation strategies. So, the simplest way to do this is to, whatever your position is. So I'm just going to, as an example, I'm just going to pretend that I'm dealing with a CEO, right? A CEO of an organization, a 50-person organization, let's say. So the easiest way, and you know, if you're an AI consultant looking at doing this for other businesses, or if you're actually a business that wants to do this, the first thing I would suggest you look at doing is looking at your org chart. Really, really straightforward, super simple. So we've got CEO up here, and then I would literally, and this is what we do, we break down our entire org chart. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call this HR, I'm going to call this finance, I'm going to call this marketing here, and I'm going to call this sales. Okay, there are, depending on your organization size, there are a lot more layers to this, and there will be a lot more people involved. But the first thing I would look to do is I would go through every single one of these set areas in your business, and I would box. I'd have a box here under each one. Obviously, I'm doing this on an iPad, but you know, you can make this look fancy in any way you want. And the first thing I would do before I think about any technology, before I think about spending any of my money, is understanding where the biggest bottlenecks are. So within each one of your departments, you're likely going to have a department head, again, depending on company size. So this might be like a chief people officer. This will obviously be a CFO. This will be a CMO, and this will be your chief revenue officer. Now, I would send an email to each one of these people, and I would say, what are the current biggest bottlenecks that you are experiencing in your department? And they're going to send you a list, right? And, you know, tell them to be really brutal with things. So the CPO is going to send you whatever, the CFO, the CMO is going to send you whatever, and the CRO. So we might have in here, as an example, so we might have HR really struggle with, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be interviewing. It could be onboarding of new employees. What else could it be? It could be job descriptions. Job descriptions. You know, it could be a number of things that we're looking at within the HR department. So that would be kind of a couple of bottlenecks there. Your CFO might say things like, "Oh, we have trouble with invoicing. You know, our invoicing system. We have trouble with getting paid. So getting paid on time." Just general, let me do getting paid. This might be just like general accounting. Make sure it's on the screen. So they're going to send you their problems. Then we would have marketing. So this would be like content. This might be something like, I don't know. This might be like leads, which kind of ties into your sales side as well. But we might have content. We might have leads. We might have target audience. Like we might be having, you know, whatever it might be. Then we would have our chief revenue officer, so sales. So again, we might have leads in here. This is a big bottleneck. We might have proposals, so sending your proposals quickly. We just might have a problem with our data. We might have a bottleneck in our CRM. And so each one of these is going to be really, really brutal and honest with you. And you should get them to be really honest with where your bottlenecks are, because ultimately, if they're not being honest with you, you then, as the decision maker, and where you're going to spend your money, you're going to struggle to find out exactly what the first thing is to do with AI and automation. So I would do this, and I would have every single department head talk to you about their problems. Then what I would look to do, I would look at mapping out each one of those problems into a key area that is defined in kind of 4 ways. So the first way would be high impact, low effort. So where can we get the most impact and low effort? So this is, come down here. So high impact, and this is low effort. Then I would have high impact, high effort. High impact, high effort. Then I would have low impact, low effort. And then I would have low impact, high effort. And this is the way you break down each one of your each problem area within each of your departments or divisions, and I would break those down into here. So what we've got here is high impact, low effort. This is absolutely number one priority, is where you want to spend your money. Okay, this is where we want to focus all of our effort and time, because this is going to give us a really, really strong return, and it's going to be relatively low effort or low cost, low bar to entry to get that. Then the next one we would probably focus on is high impact and then high effort. So these are kind of more, if you're looking in this in terms of days, your high impact, low effort might be within the first 30 days. Your high impact, high effort might be within 60 days. And then your low impact, low effort might be within your 90 days and your roadmap. And of course, our last one there is low impact, high effort, which is absolutely do not bother. Don't even bother with it. There's no point, because the ROI won't make sense. So we just kind of, anything that falls into that area, we just get rid of. So I would then filter all of these problems you've got, right? So where do typically that I see, I guess some of the more high impact, low effort areas, right? So that could be a really, really simple onboarding. Actually, no, we could do a really, really simple proposal automation. So let's think about if we've got a real problem with sending out proposals, and we're having a sales call with the sales team, and it's taking them like 4 or 5 days to put a proposal together to get over to the client. There's an old saying in sales, right? I've got a sales and recruitment background, and it was always that time kills deals. And so we want to speed that process up. So a high impact, low effort might be something like to build a proposal automation. Great. Really, really relatively straightforward to build, but it's going to be high effort. High impact, low effort. And it's going to be high impact because you're going to be able to get a proposal to a client in half the time, and naturally that's going to speed up the process for you. We've got high impact, high effort. So this is this might be in your first 30 days, and then you've got high impact, high effort. And this will be in your within 60 days, and this might be something like, let me think. So you could build a financing automation, or you could incorporate some AI within your accounting or invoicing system, or whatever that might look like. And the reason that's going to be high effort is because there's a lot more to it. It's probably a lot more nuanced with the amount of data that you've got and your environment. Finance is typically more sensitive information, so that's going to be quite a high effort area, but it is going to be high impact. If you can get your accounting in a better place, or you can get paid quicker, or you can get invoices out quicker, that's going to be pretty high impact for your business. So this might be just accounting automation that we put here, and this is on your 60 days. Then what we have is low impact, low effort. So these are things that are, I don't know, things like clearing up your CRM, basically using AI to clean up your CRM. It's relatively low impact. It could be good for you, but you probably don't need it, and you don't need to spend money on it straight away. And that's kind of, okay, that's kind of a bit of a low effort. That might be the same with any... if you think about job descriptions within the HR department, they might go, well, actually using AI to write job descriptions, we can create something. It might be low impact. It's going to be relatively low effort. It's not going to be the core things that we look at when we're looking at kind of real tangible ROI. automating some job descriptions probably isn't going to be that thing. So we might just have like a job description AI. And of course, this will be within your 90 days. Cool. So, and then obviously the bottom one here, like I said before, we just don't go near it. There's absolutely no point doing anything that is low impact and high effort, because the return that you get is pointless. So what I would do is I would map everything out that you've got here, and then I would put everything into a category. And this is why this is such a simple system to use, because this isn't overcomplicating anything. You're not worried about the technology. You're thinking more at high level about like the business and what the business needs and wants, and where you're going to get that ROI. And then what I would think about, even before I then come on to thinking about AI and technology, is I would think about your people, process, and technology areas. So great, we've got this kind of idea here. We've got these high level ideas around, okay, what we're going to do. But then what I would also look at is going, okay, if you don't work in tech, you may not have heard of this, but there's a saying in technology, which is people, process, technology, and which is kind of the what you do first. Okay, so technology should always be at the last thing, but people should always be first. And we use that as a simple system here as well. This isn't anything necessarily new. I'm going to add one more to this because I think it's important. So people, process, technology. And within this then feeds into your automation or AI ideas and roadmap. And the reason this feeds in is because if you're building all of these AI automations up here within 30, 60, and 90 days, you have to consider within each one of those, first of all, the people. Who's going to be involved? So who's involved? Why are they involved? How are they involved? What people are going to be making those decisions? Who's it going to affect, this AI and automation? There's no point implementing any of this if no one's going to use it. So how do you get user adoption in place? We've seen that plenty of times before, where companies implement AI and automation and then nobody uses it, which is a complete waste of money. So it might seem really good, right? It might be you might have a high impact, low effort idea, right, which might be great, and you might be thinking, oh, this is amazing, this is brilliant, but ultimately, if nobody then adopts that in your people, process, and technology, which is here, it's redundant. So what you need to think about is, if you're building those high impact, low effort AI and automation, you need to think about the people involved in that as well, because if there's any roadblocks within people in your team, you might have people that are more resistant to change, people that aren't going to use it. Maybe they've got their own system, maybe they're a bit of a lone wolf doing their own thing. We see that quite a lot within sales teams using their own formulas and their own Excel spreadsheets and whatever. So you've got to make sure your people are on board. Then we've got to look at process. So process is really important, because you need to think about, again, depending on the size of organization, you've got to think about governance around it, the security around it. You've got to make sure that there is a process to implement this AI and automation, and you've got to be following rules around data. I've got a really close contact named Alex, and Alex does exactly this. So he puts in process and governance around AI and automation to make sure that actually you're sticking to the rules around GDPR, ISO 27001 for security, any other ISO certifications around AI, and European AI laws have just come out as well, and there's some in the US as well. So you really need to think about that process. Again, depending on the size of organization, if you're a small 10-person startup, this process piece is going to be a lot quicker, right? If you're a 200-person company, you absolutely need some processes in place, because you are at that level, you are running a small to medium-sized organization, whereas a startup, a scale-up of 5 to 10 people, they're not going to have these processes. So you've got to think about things like, let me just write this down. So governance, security, standards, all those kind of things. And then you look at technology. So once you map out all of this, and once you kind of look at, okay, we've got our ideas, and we know, okay, who's involved and the process we're running, and actually now we look at our technology. Now, technology is a hard one. Well, it's not necessarily hard, but there is so much technology, and AI and automation can be extremely overwhelming with how many LLMs there are, how many like automation platforms you've got. Your current stack is important, so you need your current stack, and you need to make sure that these ideas here are viable for your current stack, which might mean that your CRM system might need to change if it doesn't integrate, or it doesn't have API keys, or data isn't transferring, or you can't have webhooks, whatever it might be. You need to look at this, and depending on the size of organization, are you building this internally? So is your infrastructure, have you got internal infrastructure you're leveraging and building this on? Are you using external infrastructure and third parties? So this is an important part. The next thing is cost. So the saying is people, process, technology, and I like to add in cost with this because I think it's an important one. And the reason I add in cost is because the current landscape that we are in within AI and automation is that cost can get exponentially expensive for your business when it doesn't need to. So it's and you can get sold the idea, and lots of people will try and sell you on the idea that you spend more, you get better outcomes, right? And they'll try and, especially in this AI boom that we're having, the amount of investment that's going into it, anyone that's got AI on it is getting a lot of money. The problem with that is that doesn't always work for your current business and your setup. Now, you can be wildly different on your expectations. You might only have $5,000. You might have $20,000. You might have $100,000. Okay? Just because you have $100,000 to spend doesn't mean you need to spend $100,000 on your program. And any good consultant that comes into your business, if you're using an external AI agency or automation agency, they will tell you whether or not you need to be spending this much money. Okay? You might be able to do some some really strong things that are in the high impact, low effort area for a fraction of the cost of what your budget might be. And this is what any good consultant will tell you, is that you need to plan for your business and look at the cost to your organization and how that works. Just because something is $100,000 in AI doesn't mean it's worth $100,000. Now, obviously, there's the old added, I'm sure I'm going to get some pushback on this video, well, it's worth what someone's going to pay for it, and people pay for outcomes and results, and absolutely. But at the same time, you also don't want to be screwed over, right? I've seen people pay $20,000 for an automation, and I've spoken about this on the channel before. I've seen people pay this much money for stuff that fails, okay, ultimately. And it fails for a number of reasons, whether that be the tech stack, whether that be the adoption, the automation itself, whatever it might be. I've seen people fail. I've seen automation and AI fail even at the higher end, right? So this is a relatively really straightforward, this is like what I call the 90-second AI strategy, even though this isn't been 90 seconds, but you get the idea. This is the 90-second AI strategy. And if you're someone or an organization that's never done or looked into AI or used AI before, this is just a really easy way to kind of think about, and really you don't want to overcomplicate it, right? Because if you start the other way around, if you start with technology and you think, oh, brilliant, that technology looks amazing, and you try to implement backwards, that's where you're going to get really overwhelmed and most likely fail. So yeah, that's the 90-second AI strategy. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would love to kind of hear from you guys about, what you think, if this looks good, if I've missed certain things. This is the easiest way that I know how to just kind of think about strategy and to think about what's going to be the highest ROI for your business. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.